Hey, what is going on, everyone? This is Mohammed, your personal PMP coach from Certified with Ease, coming back to you guys with another problem-solving video. Continuing the series, remember, guys, the fastest and the best way to prepare for this exam is to start solving as many problems as possible. And that's why we are doing this series, okay? Before we begin, remember, guys, we have this PMP Accelerator course. It's not like your typical Udemy course. It's not your boot camp. It contains every single topic you need to master for the exam, with a huge emphasis on working on quality problems that cover every single topic you can expect on the exam. We've gathered feedback from our students. We've made this program with their feedback. It reflects the most recent exam that you will see on the exam. Okay, so we have everything you need over here. If you want to take a deeper dive, book that appointment with our PMP program advisor Shubs, who actually used this program to get certified in 12 hours. Okay, that was a challenge, and he did it. He succeeded. You guys can get certified as well. Okay, the exam is not changing anytime soon, but listen, guys, why wait? Why delay it? The longer you wait, the more you are saying no to opportunities that come your way. If you're looking for a new job, hiring stops in the summertime. So don't focus on getting certified then. Rather, get certified now so you have more access to opportunities. All right, so enough talking. Let us jump into our questions, and we will continue solving these questions starting from question 120. Okay, so 1 second. Let me see if I can bring the camera back, make it a little smaller. There we go. Okay. So 120. So a project manager is planning a project with multiple work packages. Each work package has its own defined scope, but funding will be at the project level. How should the PM determine if the allocated resource budget is sufficient to cover resource costs of the project? So what are they saying here? We have these work packages, right, that are underneath the project level. So you have this entire project, but it's broken down into work packages, meaning that not every work package has its own independent budget. Rather, you have a total budget for the entire project, and we will allocate it accordingly in consideration with the work packages. Okay, and we are concerned. The PM is saying, okay, you know what? Do we have enough to cover this project? So, A, estimate the costs at the work package level and add those costs to calculate total cost of the project and compare it with the S. Very good. So we're taking a bottom-up approach. We're looking at the work packages. How much does work package A cost, or how much will it cost? How much will B cost, C cost, etc.? Adding it all up, and that's about it, right? Create a budget burn down and scope burn up, then verify that the project scope is completed before the allocated budget is depleted. Okay, so you got to be careful, guys. When you're reading that question, it seems like it's a nice solution. And this is where your understanding of these terms, budget, what is a burn down, what is scope, for example, comes into play. All right, our course has a section over here that has all the important terminologies that you have to master for the exam. Okay, and if you don't have this, if you're not a part of the course, no problem. Make sure you compile a list of terminology that keep coming up in your questions. So you don't read it and you're like, wow, I don't know what this is, but it sounds good. Let me just choose this answer. Okay. B is not going to be the right answer. We're not concerned about the scope at this point. C, divide the allocated budget by the number of work packages and verify that each work package can be completed within the allocated budget. Divide allocated budget by the number of work packages. All right, but here's the thing. Some work packages might be more costly than others. If we divide it, what we're doing is we're allocating an equal amount to each work package, which doesn't work, right? Fund each work package in order of its importance and shift any remaining scope from non-funded work packages to funded work packages. I like the first part based on its importance. However, just because something is important does not mean it's going to be more or less costly. Number two, I don't like the second part. Why are we shifting or taking the remaining scope from a non-funded work package to a funded? What's a non-funded work package? We're not talking about anything that that's non-funded. Everything is going to be funded, right? A is the best answer. It's simple. It makes sense, guys. Everyone chose A too. So yeah. Sometimes the best answers are going to be the most simple answers. All right. So 121. So remember, guys, the 3 steps. We're going to frame the problem. We're reading the situation. One of the biggest issues that I've noticed that people have when it comes to preparing for the exam is they're reading the question. They're not actually understanding the problem from it. Okay. So that's a very important thing that you have to practice on. A PM is managing a project that is halfway through its execution phase, and the quality standards of the deliverables were formally accepted. However, a government agency has recently introduced new standards that may significantly impact the project. The deliverables must be changed to align with the new quality standards. What should the PM do? All right. So we are basically halfway through the execution phase. We're not complete. We're not at the closing phase. We're halfway through execution. Very important. The quality standards of the deliverables were formally accepted. All right. So the deliverables seem to check out. Everything is good, formally accepted. Government comes along and says, hey, listen, there's a new standard. We got to change things around. When the government, the big boss, comes around, says we need to introduce a new law or regulation, we need to consider that. There's no dodging that. Any answer that says, you know what, we're not going to consider it, we're already at the closing or execution phase in this case, we're not going to consider it, right? Schedule training for the project team on the new regulations introduced by the government agency, okay? Set up a structured, independent process to determine if the project activities followed the standards. All right. Update the lessons learned register and inform senior management of the new standards. So there's no need to inform senior management. We're not going to do that. So C is gone. C is, in a sense, escalating. No need to do that. We, as a project manager, need to take this responsibility. Evaluate the impact the new regulation will have on the project and submit a change request. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Okay. So we are basically stuck with A, B, and D. What do we choose here? A, I like A, schedule training for the project team on the new regulation introduced by the government agency. So we could do A because the team is obviously going to be involved, but is there something we can do beforehand? Remember, when you're left with multiple answers at the end, you always want to ask yourself, what should we do first? Even if the question doesn't mention it, it says, what should the project manager do? If you have multiple options at the end, always ask yourself, what is the logical first thing to do? Set up a structured, independent process to determine if the project activities follow the standards. I like D, guys. I like D. Evaluate the impact the new regulations will have on the project. I don't like the second part that much and submit a change request. I would rather speak to the project team first and then submit a change request. But we do know that a part of the change request process is for the project manager to evaluate, right? It's for the project manager to evaluate. So if you go over here, change control process, right? And the project manager evaluates with the team. We can assume that. That's a proper assumption. So I'm going to go with D. I think D is the right answer. Just because, yeah, there we go. Just because of the first part. That's the first thing you want to do. You always want to evaluate things before bringing it up with your team or having a structured process and whatnot. Okay. Principle number 1. Very simple. Most powerful principle. Number 1 over here. Okay. All right. We're doing good. Okay. So question 122. Project team performance is being impacted by impeding internal procedures that are affecting the progress of activities and team autonomy. What should the PM do to first address this situation? Okay, so we got some impediments that are affecting what? Progress and team autonomy. Discuss the issue in the next sprint review meeting. Okay, the sprint review meeting is a bit far, right? That's at the end of the sprint cycle. If they said during the daily stand-up, then that would be a better solution. Train the team members on the organization's procedures. That's not going to solve the problem. Remember, we're looking for answers that contradict our principles or do not solve the problem. We're going to eliminate it. The internal procedures are the ones causing problems. Why are we educating our team about these things? We should do something too to alleviate these procedures or whatnot. Ask the organization to improve the internal procedures. Okay, I'm looking for something more specific, but let's just see. Usually when you rely on the organization, it doesn't really go as planned. Let's see what else we can do. Try to remove the barriers and empower team members. Okay, beautiful, right? So we got two problems here. We got the progress of activities that these procedures are causing, and team autonomy. So empowering the team will increase team autonomy, and removing the barriers. Yes, the project manager should do that, right? The project manager should do that. And at times, you'll have like the scrum master who's responsible for that, but the project manager could also do it, remove impediments or whatnot. Okay, so we try our best to do that. Awesome. Okay. A self-organizing team for a critical project is consistently delivering value according to their commitments. During a retrospective, the project manager observed that most of the team members were stressed due to overcommitments. Okay, so the problem statement is in the last sentence. Your team members are stressed because of overcommitments. Okay? So this happens when we don't follow what? When we plan out our story points, we understand our team velocity, and we don't respect that. We don't respect it. Rather, we say that, okay, I know that my team is capable of, let's say, for example, completing completing 10 story points every single sprint, but we're going to go for 15. No, that's not what we want to do. We want to commit to what we have initially planned. So A, support the team during the planning phase to only commit to what they're able to deliver. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what we just mentioned. B, request additional resources to continue delivering value while reducing team stress. So we don't request additional resources, especially not right away, guys. It's extra costs, right? That's one of our principles. Ask individual team members to plan staggered leave to avoid becoming stressed. No, we don't want our team members to leave, right? They're working on the project. They're there for a reason. If everyone could just leave, that would probably cause more problems. Help the team members by organizing regular stress relieving and team building sessions. Yeah, this is good, but it doesn't solve the core problem. They still have to overcommit, right? That's like your boss. I remember in one company that I worked at, everyone was so stressed, and it was Q4, so it made sense, and the company decided to throw a yoga session for everyone, and I was like, what? Yoga session? Give us manageable bits and tasks so that we can complete them without feeling overcommitted, right? So A is going to be the best answer, guys. And D could be another answer, but I think A is better. Exactly. Okay. Yeah, some people chose D as well. Alrighty. Okay. 124. A project manager received the project charter for a new product. The project is expected to have two main deliverables or deliveries. The hardware part that has detailed specifications already defined, including a sample machine and the user interface software that has only basic specifications. Okay. The user software that has only a basic specification requirement for a user experience design approach. Which project manager approach should the project manager use? Okay, so everything here, where they go into the specifics, like hardware, the hardware has specific detailed specifications. We don't care about sample machine and all these kind of things. We need to understand that, okay, one part of the project already has detailed specifications, which sounds like predictive, right? And then another part has only basic specifications, meaning that we're not sure. There's uncertainty. We're taking something that we're sure about and we're mixing it with something that we're not sure about. So that's going to be hybrid. I can tell you that already. Then we got B over here that talks about hybrid. So we're just going to click that. Okay, so always remember that, guys, that's how you basically differentiate. If it's a mix of both predictive and agile, you pick hybrid. Okay. All right, awesome. 125. Okay, so 125, an agile team received certification on a new tool. However, this team member is complaining that the rest of the team is not using the tool due to a lack of knowledge. How should the servant leader apply emotional intelligence to leverage this situation to benefit all people? Okay. Um, all right. So the team members are not using the tool due to a lack of knowledge. And we want to apply emotional intelligence. I would simply just teach them how to use the tool if it's a lack of knowledge. But let's see what the answers say. Request budget to reward the team member so others will be motivated to obtain the certification. So there's two things wrong with that. Number one, again, we don't want to spend extra money, right? We say no to extra costs. Number two, the problem is not motivation. Rather, it's a lack of knowledge. That's the main problem, right? So even if they're motivated, they won't know how to use the tool. So it doesn't solve the core problem. Promote the team member to product owner to leverage this new knowledge with the clients. Again, it doesn't solve the problem. We are concerned about the team not using it. Ask the team member to use their recently acquired knowledge to develop and provide training to the team. Okay. Provide an incentive to team members who begin using a new tool on the project. Okay, so the best answer here is going to be C. And I know we have this principle that states that we shouldn't give our team members extra tasks that will reduce their capacity, right? But we are creating or we are benefiting other team members, which will benefit the project overall. And everything else, all the other options are not great options, right? So we're going to go with C over here, and that's going to be our answer. A PM has been assigned to a project after the charter has been approved. While reviewing a charter with the team, the project manager finds that some major budget items necessary for achieving the project outcome have been missed. What should the PM do next? Okay, so the problem statement here is what? There's some major budget items necessary for achieving the project outcome. These things have been missed out. What should we do? I immediately discussed this with the project sponsor and request to revisit the budget to ensure its accuracy. Okay. Now this is not a escalation. Remember, the escalation is about what? It's about speaking to the wrong person in a situation, right? The sponsor is responsible for this specific budget. So it's not escalation, guys. Remember that. And we have this principle number 8, which I talk about a lot, is escalating. But escalating is always escalating to the wrong person. Add the missing budget items to the risk log and present them in the next project steering committee. It's not a risk. It's just missing information. Start the project and deal with these budget issues as they arise throughout the project lifecycle. Very dangerous. If we don't have our project budget, we can exceed it very, very quickly. Reduce the quality of the project, the cost deliverables to allow additional budget. So we don't do that, right? Imagine reducing the quality of your deliverables just because you're missing some information. It doesn't make sense. So I'm going to go with A. Immediately discuss it. Very good. A project schedule risk has turned into an issue. The project foresees delays in project execution. What should the project manager do to resolve the issue? Okay. So remember, guys, that an important concept that we have to understand for the PMP is that risk and issues are different things. Risk is basically one step before an issue. And I always tell my students this, that think about this analogy. It's a really good way to remember it. Let's say you're building something or building a house during hurricane season. A hurricane at that moment is considered a risk. And let's say you wake up the next day and that hurricane is right there at your doorstep, beating down on the house. That becomes an issue at that point, right? An issue is a risk that has been realized. Always remember that. So in this case, it's an issue. There's no way to avoid it. What do we do? Escalate the issue to senior leadership for resolution. We don't do that. We don't escalate. We handle problems. Work with relevant stakeholders to determine possible solutions. I like that. That's principle number 1, taking a step back. Update the schedule baseline to the new project timeline. Okay. Update the risk management plan and send it to the project team. So we're not going to do that. The best is going to be B. Let's think about possible solutions. I would have liked it if they mentioned like issue log, but since they don't, the best next thing is going to be B. Okay, pretty simple, right? Principle number one. When you understand principle number one, everything becomes simple. A project manager assigned to a project where a vendor has been engaged to build a new system 1 week before user acceptance testing is scheduled. The vendor informs the project manager that they can only deliver half of the promised functions by the UAT start date. What should the project manager do next? Okay. So we have an issue. It depends on how you look at it, but we have a risk here. Like if we can't convince this person, the person says, no, we can't do it at all. Like, I don't care what you say. It's an issue then at that point. But right now, from what we can read, it's a risk we're dealing with. Maybe there's something that we can do to fix the problem. So communicate with the vendor and project team, explore possibilities for resolving the issue. Okay, yeah, excellent. Principle number one, simple as that. We're involving the team as well because they're the ones responsible for building everything out. Wait until the vendor cannot deliver. So we don't wait. We don't settle for delays, guys. Okay, we don't wait. Right over here. Escalate. We don't escalate either. Adjust the project schedule to accommodate the current development progress of the vendor. This implies that we have settled on the delay, which is principle number two. We don't do that. A is going to be the best answer. Okay, excellent. All right. You know what? For the next two things, we're going to try to read the answers just to train the mindset a little bit. But remember, guys, that the most important step that I see a lot of students having trouble with is understanding the problem statement. You might be nervous. The timer's ticking. You're reading the question fast, but you're not understanding what you're processing. So that's something that everyone has to work on. Use a direct collaborative approach with the technician and supervisor. Okay. Provide a just-in-time training to the technician to improve their skill set. Okay. Probably going to have to read this one. Replace the technician with a high-performing resource. Okay, so we don't replace team members. This is principle number one. This is counter-servant leadership. Talk to the supervisors to tone down their approach and attitude. I don't like the feel of that answer. But let's read this question. In a time-critical construction project, a misunderstanding occurred between the supervisor and technician. All right, answer's A. That's all I need to hear. Answer's A. When the question mentions certain people, in this case, a supervisor and technician, and the answer mentions those people, the only answer that mentions these people is what? Is A. Both of them. That's your answer. That's your answer. Remember that. That's an MCQ trick that you can apply anywhere. Not just PMP, anywhere. It's a common trick, okay? All right, so contact the project sponsor to request approval to release the current team and hire replacement personnel. So again, we don't replace our team members. Call each team member to gain their perspective on the problem, then bring the whole team together to discuss a solution. I love this. This is beautiful. Principle number one. I'm going to say it's B, just because it's principle number one, but we have to read everything. Send each team member a direct email indicating disciplinary action. No, that's not what we want to do. Accept the situation knowing there's a scheduled slack available to release on increment. No. Okay. So B, we like to discuss. Beautiful. Okay. So guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Remember, guys, we have a course that is available to all of you. If you're interested, make sure you book that appointment so we can get you certified as soon as possible. All of these questions here are meant to provide you the fastest and the easiest way to get certified. Take care and have a fantastic rest of the day.